This is your host, Engineer Qadir Hussain Suryani from Karachi, Pakistan. Today is Sunday, January 5th, 2025, and we are back with another episode of our financial literacy series. Today's topic is the difference between good debt and bad debt. To understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, we have our guest, Mr. A.K. Awan from California, USA. Welcome back to the show, sir. Thank you for your time. Okay, can you tell us what is the difference between a good debt and bad debt?
Well, thank you for having me, Kadir. Well, today's topic is very interesting, I must say, because most people they struggle, managing their money, and when it comes to identifying the difference between good debt and bad debt, hardly people know about it. So, debt is when you borrow something. Debt meaning loan. You borrow the loan from the bank. You borrow loan from someone you know. That is debt. Now, what is good debt and what is bad debt? To be honest, it's not that difficult to understand. You see, good debt is something that you have borrowed, you have taken, right? But somebody else pays for it. Let's take an example. For instance, let's give an example. Let's say you own a house, right? Now you have taken the loan, right? You have put some down payment, you have purchased a property, right? So you have a monthly obligation of paying to the bank, right? That is called mortgage, monthly mortgage payment that goes to the bank. That is your loan. Example, I live in that property and I pay you the rent every month. So your debt that you have taken is paid by me as a tenant. In that case, your debt becomes good debt. You have taken the loan, it's your property, you're obligated to pay the monthly payment, but you don't make the payment. Abdul Karim Awan makes the payment for it. That becomes a good debt. Let's take another example. I own a car, right? And I'm supposed to make the payment every month to the bank, right? But instead of me making the payment every month to the bank, I put that car on rent, and somebody called Jose, Juan, Jesus, these are the names I usually, refer to, most popular names here. These people, they make payments for renting the car from me, and that money goes to the bank. So I don't make the payment for the car that I own. Periodically, occasionally, I use that car too, right? But there is somebody who makes the payment for my obligation, for my loan, right? In that case, this is considered good debt. Now let's talk about bad debt. Bad debt is something that you pay from your pocket. So other way around. You have a property, you have to pay monthly, you have to make the monthly payment, you are living in the property, right? And you are making the payment. That is definitely a bad debt. You own a car, you have to make the monthly payment to the bank, right? And the payment goes from your pocket. That case, that is your bad debt. Hope I have, you know, mentioned in a proper way to make everybody understand.
That's very nice. That's very nice. And that's very thoughtful, and I must say that's very insightful. There's one more follow-up question. What should people keep in mind when borrowing the debt or borrowing the loan?
Well, um, one of the best investors of humankind. Um, my mentor actually considers him the best investor of humankind. Warren Buffett says, before you make the purchase of anything, be it anything, anything means anything. Before you make the purchase of this calculator, right? You buy this calculator. You go in the market to purchase a calculator. You go in the market, you purchase an iPhone, right? You purchase anything. Before you make the purchase, you ask yourself one question: do I really need this? If the answer is in yes, it's a must, it's a necessity, I can't live without it, right? Then you should go for it. If the answer is, it's okay, if I have it, I'm fine. If I don't have it, I'm okay, then you should avoid it. Why? Because he goes by saying, if you purchase things that you don't need today, if you purchase things that you don't need today, you will sell the things that you will need tomorrow. So before you make any purchase, you ask yourself, who is going to make the payment for this? Is there somebody who is willing to make the payment? Then go for it. If it's you who is going to make the payment, try to avoid it. Or if you really need it, then you should go for it. So if you remember, we talked about asset and liability in one of our previous episodes, right? So identify what you're buying. What you're buying, is that an asset or that's a liability? If it's a liability, avoid it. Let it go. Pass it on. If it's an asset, go for it.
That's great. That's great. So thank you, Mr. A.K. Awan, for breaking that down so clearly. Just to recap for our audience, good debt typically refers to borrowing the money, but an other person on behalf of you is paying back, right? And on the other hand, the bad debt is actually involving the uh, borrowing something for your liabilities, and uh, you have purchased some credit card unnecessary luxury, and you are actually the paying the debt and paying back the money. So that will be a bad debt, right?
Correct. If the money goes out of your pocket, it's a bad debt. If somebody else pays for it, it's a good debt. It's as easy and as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Awan, there's one more simple question. Many people struggle with identifying whether their debt falls into the good or bad category. So how they can just identify it easily?
Well, it's very simple. As I mentioned earlier, um, you have many things. Many people here in America, they really, don't know the difference between asset and liability, the good debt and the bad debt. What is, you know, good debt and what is bad debt? Most people consider their home, their biggest asset, but that is not. So, as I said, if somebody else is paying for it, then it's a good debt. And if you are paying from your pocket, it's a bad debt, right? Right. Unless it's an investment, unless you're buying, let's say gold that appreciates over time, right? Then it's a good debt, right? But it really depends. There are a lot of factors involved in it. What is the rate of interest that you're borrowing at? What is the capital appreciation that you're getting for the gold? Does the gold appreciate as much as the interest rate that you're paying? There are several factors involved. But to keep it simple, to make it easy for everyone to understand, if anybody else is paying for it, go for it. It's a good debt. Borrow at the rate of, let's say, 6%, 8%, or 10%, and make double or triple out of it, then that becomes, how would you feel, Kadir, if somebody pays for your debt? You have purchased a home, you own it, right?
Mhm.
You own it, it's under your name. But instead of you make the payment for it, somebody else makes the payment. How would you feel? That is how you
Mhm.
look at the property. That is how you look at the asset or the liability to understand.
Wow, wow, that's very nicely um, what you call explained. Thank you so much for your insightful on this topic, and we really appreciate your time. And I must say for our audience that if you have any questions, comments below, and we will make videos on your demand as well if you have any questions. So thank you very much, Mr. AK. We will be meeting in an other episode. Thank you.
Great having you. Bye bye.